All right. Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to Smudcast number 481, Asian Honor, as opposed to non-Asian honor. Hollywood's gross misrepresentation and why they do it. This video came out 2 years ago in September from the Cool History Bros, a small channel of about 86,000 subs. And this video has about 120,000 views. And I just watched most of it about an hour ago. And I didn't see much too wrong about it. I didn't see anything I could critique. It seemed like a good video. It's a little different than what we usually cover. So maybe we'll have some good commentary, or maybe we'll just watch it in silence. I don't know.
After yesterday, I'm very fine with that.
Yeah, this is, the whole topic is about the obsession that the West seems to think the East has with honor, like the honor society, code of honor, the warrior codes of the what the hell is it? Not the samurai. I guess the same idea of the samurai, but the bushido. I think that's the proper term. And you get that a lot in samurai stories. I saw that a lot in Lone Wolf and Cub, which I think is the definitive samurai manga or book, picture book, if you want to call it that.
In a lot of ways, they still have a lot of that in that they do not want, by doing the wrong thing publicly, they feel shame, which is a part of honor culture.
I guess
that
so.
is still present, and from people that have told me who worked in Japan, for example, for several months or a year. They and they've always been the gaijin, of course, which had positive sides because they could say what they wanted and would not be maltreated for it because, well, it's the gaijin. Everyone described it as a very, very stuck-up culture where people try not to say the wrong thing, even if it's true, because it might hurt someone. It is in a different way than we have here with this Karen nonsense and the SJWs. There, it's more like we don't want anyone to lose face instead of we don't want to insult anyone. That's a bit of a difference. The not losing face is something that you see more in politics. It's a topic of its own. But yeah, that stuff is, or remnants of it, they're still very much there. Maybe not in this romanticized medieval version.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
we have that in our medieval history as well. We also romanticize it a bit. But chivalry is the European version of that.
Right. I know that even with today's, if you have an aunt or an uncle, you should always refer to them as aunt or uncle than their name. That's more respectful. But in the East style of things, even in Chinese culture, there's a great video on YouTube about the Chinese family tree, where if you're going to refer to an aunt or an uncle or someone along your tree, there's a specific name for each version of each brother and sister from each generation and their descendants. It's a wild video. I think it's been online for a while now, but I remember because my brother married an Asian lady, and they were telling me...
Thank you, cousin second degree.
Sorry?
Thank you, cousin second degree. Oh, with pleasure.
It's like variations of the name aunt and uncle, essentially. So it's wild. Like, you guys have got to watch the Chinese family tree video on YouTube. It's pretty cool. But it is true. It is true that there's a certain... You have to use the right term. Obviously, if you've never met before, they're not going to get pissed off, but they might know the actual way to address someone because families are gigantic. So that is as far as it goes, though. I don't know about specific terms in relation to movies or videos, and the only example I can think of that's popularized was the Klingons from Star Trek. That Gene Roddenberry based the Klingon culture around a medieval style Japanese culture. So honor was a big deal, and how they act and how they fought. So maybe after all those decades, our influence from Gene Roddenberry, or that gross misinterpretation could have caused that. I don't know. So,
you could also make the argument that the Romulans, at least in TNG, come across like the part of Japanese culture of the old one that is very stuck up, formal, the not losing face kind, but not charging forth with their swords like the Klingons would do. Like if you put the two together, I don't know, might make the whole.
All right, here's Rothschild World Control. Thank you. Oh God, they are going to use Tom Cruise's Last Samurai, aren't they? Japanese people were over the moon for The Last Samurai. The only people who objected were Marxists in Europe and America, whom are pretty white themselves, I may add. You know what? I've never seen the movie. It never really crossed my interests. It just sort of...
it's a bit cheesy, but it's a very watchable movie.
Oh. I do remember an episode of Highlander the series where they show the history of how Duncan MacLeod gets his sword and he travels to Japan. I thought that was...
No, that wasn't Highlander 3.
No, the series. Highlander the series.
I never watched that.
Oh, it's actually not bad. I mean, there's obviously some cheesy bits in there because it's Highlander, but the story of how he got his samurai sword I thought was rather cool. So
okay, because that is in Highlander 3, yes, I remember.
Really?
In the movie, yeah.
No,
yeah.
I
it's the one that basically so bearable Highlander movies to watch is up to 3. 1 is good, you can ignore the rest, but if you want to watch more, don't watch past 3. And 3 they should have made 3 after 1. So it's more chronological.
Really? Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not too big on samurai stories per se, unless there's something excellent about them, or you can tell. I always say Lone Wolf and Cub is my favorite. But, yeah, no, I'm not too well versed. So maybe I'm just not interested in the topic and I have nothing to say, but we're going to go through the video, see what you guys think. If we get bored or we're just watching it and going, yep, this is good. Yep, everything's fine. We might try another video just for the sake of it, because we're not here to watch videos with you guys. We're here to comment on them. So,
Last Samurai is a guilty pleasure of mine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. The thing is, also with all of these movies, what we always see is a focus on some romanticized stereotype or archetype that because that is interesting to watch, and in the sense of any honorable people, those are like some sort of mortal superhero to aspire to, or that inspire us, because someone who always abides by his principle, that has a certain appeal to it, and that's why people like it, whether that's in the West or the East.
Yeah, the knight style of honor. You are pledged to your king or your lord or whomever, and you serve him throughout your life. That's pretty common throughout all militaristic terms and eras. So, yeah, nothing unique specifically to Japan. They have a little bit more romanticism with the knight errant, the samurai without a master, that sort of deal. But no, it's commonplace throughout medieval Europe as well. So, lots of feudalism going around that time of year. So, anyway, here we go. 16 minutes.
I'm honored to meet you. With honor. Honor.
Honor.
Honor.
Honor. Honor.
Honor. With honor.
Wow, Hollywood really loves Asians saying honor, doesn't it? By scouring the scripts of Hollywood films featuring Asians, like The Last Samurai, I discovered that the word honor was used quite a lot. 26 times, in fact, in this Tom Cruise feature. And in the Disney animated Mulan, it was 29 times. Sure, in some instances, it was just used in the context of common English language expressions. But if you compare it to actual Asian films, you will immediately discover that it is ridiculously overused. Akira Kurosawa's Yojimbo only used it 3 times, Seven Samurai only 1 time, and Crouching Tiger and Hidden Dragon also 1 time. So what the heck is happening here?
Wisp?
Sorry, is it just me, or is the audio jumping from left to right all the time when he speaks?
I don't know.
Maybe
Really-
just
really-
you. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
maybe-
I hear it just fine.
Maybe I need to check my setup, because this is really strange. Yeah. Well, the Japanese are much. They're more used to the concept of how they play it out. So you don't always need to remind everyone of it, because they're familiar with their own culture.
That's true. They could have multiple
Rather than in a foreign
terms
film.
that don't translate well specific to the literal definition of honor. So piety, faithfulness, there's all kinds of different words you can use. And unless it's specific, which they were probably going to use anyway, that doesn't translate well, or the translators don't use that well because we just don't understand some words. So that could happen easily with nouns that you'd have to explain. So I can understand that happening in translation. That makes sense.
But like, there's Lone Wolf and Cub. Like, you could like say that like pretty much the entire story is about honor, because Ogami Ito is like dishonored by the Yaju clan. Was that the name? I can't remember. But yeah, like, it's pretty much about that. Nothing else besides it. Like, there's no other reason for his revenge.
Yeah,
Driving him.
he gives up his soul and his humanity just to go on the story of revenge with his infant son.
And he's willing to like do an honorable duel, even after being betrayed like at least a dozen times, despite all that.
Yeah, it's
He's
a
willing
really,
to like do a one-on-one with the clan members.
and he goes up against other assassins and other samurai who are either as honorable. There's one samurai. I remember he was fighting with a table. That was his stance. He started off with a table, and the samurai fought Igami not because he wanted to, but because this was the right thing for him to do as a warrior, even though he was probably going to lose. So there's like all these wonderful stories about people doing things for the good part or the good reasoning of their soul. They think this is the right thing to do. Which is the same with the villain. The villain is doing things because he thinks this is the right thing to do. So, there's lots of great villains and heroes and other side characters that are, they play around with the hero concept very well. So, it's always fun to read those stories.
This is,
No, go on.
Well, it's because I do feel like every single thing that Ogami does, like he introduces himself before he kills his victims. He gives out information whenever it's necessary. And it's all because it's based on their culture. Like, if you try to show a culture like that is very European to an Asian person, then you would introduce like the vocabulary and like other things, like why it's happening the way it is. Because they were veered out from that.
Yeah, and concepts.
They
of
wouldn't
why we do
understand
things the
like
way
why
we do.
German people like sausages so much. So there would be like a half an hour introduction of like how much they love that.
Potato.
Teo, there's
Same with
cabbage.
Same with Japanese cuisine and customs. Yeah, they're worlds apart, and we don't understand why they are the way they are. What certain things happen during the war, why they build houses the way they do, why they cut their hair a certain way. There's all kinds of things we're not aware of. And when you see the rituals like for marriage or christening or any religious things, it's like, what is that? What is going on? We have to be explained what that means. So that's very common in storytelling and in life, that we have to ask, say, what is happening? Why is this marriage? Why are the Indians all wearing these clothing at the marriage and doing all these things and riding on a pony and all these bizarre rituals we don't understand? So yeah,
Oh, yeah, or why in like we have in Germany we have various marriage rituals, like seesawing a tree trunk off, like the with a if you've ever used, most people haven't, a seesaw that is used by two people on both sides. If you're not working in perfect unison in the rhythm, the thing's gonna get stuck, and you can't saw through the tree trunk. And that ritual is meant to then represent that husband and wife can work together to solve a hard problem. That is one of the things. And we have other things, like that's a very local thing, I think, in Brunswick, where when a man turns 30 and he isn't married yet, he and his friends all gather before the I think it's the what's it called, Rathaus, the city hall, and lots of innocuous trash like bottle caps. Today they use bottle caps, and there's thousands of bottle caps that they all collected for years, and they just throw them all on the ground. And the guy then has to broom them all up into a big pile. And once he's done, anyone from the crowd can jump in and kick the pile over so that it's all spread out again, and he has to broom it up again. And the only way to free him of that is either they do it a couple times and get bored, or a non-married girl saves him by giving him a kiss.
What? That
Sounds
is
so Disney.
That is bizarre. Yeah, no, I've been to German
Yeah,
weddings
but you
before.
would have to explain what's going on there.
Yeah, I've been to German weddings before. They're actually pretty fun. I don't know about the sawing, but that'd be outside, I guess. But there were slap dancing. There was bells.
But in all the different parts of Germany, there are different little cultural rituals, and you wouldn't know if you wouldn't be there. A German from this corner of the country doesn't know what they do in the other. Nobody knows what the Bavarians are doing because they're weird people.
I know what they do. Most Germans in Hungary are from there, so I know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us?
No, you don't want to know.
Okay.
It's all about
that's what I'm talking about. That's what
right.
I'm talking about. Oh, they're probably zutzling some Weisswurst together.
Yes, and the beer.
Oh,
They
God.
just can't shut up about it.
Well, that's true. I know where that's coming from. Anyway,
But yeah, I was just thinking, this whole honor thing.
no.
Since we have that ingrained in our culture in some form, we've lost lots of it due to all this modern stuff. But it always interacts with shame and duty. So if you bring shame upon someone, there is a duty to rectify that. Either you who brought the shame upon someone, or someone's gonna take some sort of revenge for it. I think the Sicilian culture was very strong about this. This is the whole mafia thing that has this going on a lot as well. That comes from there. These are all different versions of the same idea. And they can be more virtuous, or they can lead to more blood feuds and criminality. It always depends on how you do it. The alleged honor culture that the Turks have that are in Germany is not actually an honor culture. They always talk about my honor, my honor, my honor. They don't have any. They never earned any. They're just boasting. And there's another name for it, but kind of forgot that. This when we talk about this especially the Japanese honor culture, for example, I think it is more appropriate to call it duty, and the honor comes when you fulfill the duty and act according to the virtues and principles of whatever the culture, the code expects.
well, here's a little interesting super chat from Turmoil. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but If Europeans wanted a paragon of virtue to aspire to, they shouldn't have removed monarchies and replaced them with a system that promotes corruption. You could say that about any political system, I'd imagine.
Well, honestly, we cannot know for sure because the victors write history after all. But if history studies were true, then those monarchs were just as dirty as politicians today.
Well, yeah. I mean, depending on which monarchy, which duchy, which lordship, when the system gets bigger and bigger, it doesn't matter what political party or system you're using, it's just going to get corrupt.
There's assassination, poisoning. Are there ways to intrude yourself into society?
Well, that we still have today. I mean,
we have, but it's just they weren't the virtues of morality.
Well, that's always the what are you presenting to the outside? What's the picture you want to paint and be seen as? That's where the whole don't lose face comes into play. And then there's what are people actually doing behind the scenes. But the whole monarchy thing has the one advantage over this democracy stuff where nobody is ever responsible, because you ask, well, who's at fault? Oh, 1 million people died. Whose fault is it? I'm not responsible. That one's not responsible. Well, parliament, well, there are a lot of single people that voted for this and some against, but the parliament, you can't fault the whole parliament because they're not really responsible. Another politician in another position, like the chancellor, the president, could have stopped it, but didn't. Is that then responsible? And we have this. We do this so long. It's like going through a ministry and trying to file a complaint or something, where you file for damages. It takes forever. It takes so long that you get tired and just give up. And in a monarchy, the one definite benefit is that you know who's responsible. It's the monarch. And if the monarch is too shit, he gets a revolt and a sack over his head or hers, and won't make the day probably. And then we'll get a new monarch, and that monarch then knows that if he fucks up too much, or she, get a sack over his head or hers. So that there's this more direct accountability does help a little bit. It doesn't mean that things will be perfect. But yeah, I think we need to somehow reestablish that effect.
Well,
even that's what I think is in the United States Second Amendment, because the people can have the means to, in theory, hold the government accountable. I don't think they will ever, but I don't think they ever will. Yeah. But the threat is there, and there's more politics done through mere threats than through actions.
The issue with any kind of corruption usually results in an oligarchy, and that's when we have a small amount of people taking control of a large amount of people or dictating what to do. And that was present, whether it's feudalistic or democratic or republic or whatever you want to call any terms. Something either degenerates to that or is as a result of that, whether you're aware of it or not. So anyway, every political analyst over the years, over the millennia, have had good and bad things to say about those theories. And you really have to study political science to understand where they're coming from and why, because every country tried a version thereof. So there's never a good solution. Everything with politics is always the lesser of two evils, and you never know if there's a better system. Unless you want to live in Switzerland, then that's a totally different story entirely. So, gotta read up on my Switzerland these days. Have to talk to our philosopher.
Well, democracy only has worth when it is when the politicians are actually accountable. You have actual means to remove these eternal dynasties.
Well, that and
you abide by the subsidiary principle, which most democracies don't. Switzerland does more so than others.
They have the capacity to have direct democracy, which I've been waiting to see work throughout the world. And if what I've been hearing so far has been working, that's impressive, because I thought it would just become a cavalcade of voting and people just doing crazy things behind the scenes.
Oh no, of course can work. But nobody else is implementing it because that would give power to the people.
Yeah, exactly.
And our democracies are mockeries of democracies. They're Potemkin democracies. They're only there to give us the feeling that we could affect any real change or would have any real decision-making power.
Yeah.
When we don't, it's a joke.
It was only well observed, I believe, in ancient tribes of Greece where they had direct democracy. But we're talking like groups of like 30, 60 people who had villages, and they would all vote on what's best for the village, which worked, but wasn't exactly a long-standing tradition as those tribes ran out. Anyway,
I mean, the old tribes of Europe had a better representative democracy because they would elect their leaders, and those leaders would get together and elect the first among them. Same with the Druids.
All right. Anyway, let's get back to the video talking about movies and the obsession with honor in the depictions of Japanese culture in the West.
Obviously, it seems like there is a massive chasm between Hollywood's depiction of Asian culture and reality. They think that we, the audience, are just too dumb to even realize their laziness. But instead of just ranting,
It's just the cultural
no.
difference, that's all.
Yeah. First, that's that. You explain the cultural difference of another culture in your movie, but he's also right. Hollywood does think that its audiences is too dumb. But that's a general Hollywood problem about everything. When they make American movies about American things for Americans, the movies are so bloody retarded that you think, are you trying to make this for someone who doesn't understand what's on the screen? We've seen this in dubs when foreign movies and foreign cartoons are localized into the United States for the United States market, and they change so much of the script and they add narration where there is no narrator in the original to explain what's happening on the screen and what is on the screen. It is insulting to watch. This is a Hollywood problem in general, yes, but it is bigger than you make it out to be here. The movies, the examples that the guy in the video brought up, they're okay. They're not doing that.
All right, here's Paint Tester. Thanks for the tip. If this guy takes issue with the word honor being stereotyped to Asians, I have to ask, is that really a bad thing? You'd seldom find a culture that doesn't value honor. I get that it might be annoying, but this seems a tad dramatic. It's mostly with scriptwriters in the West, I would say, using the term, at least at this point in this video, too much and focusing on that idea too much as opposed to other romantic concepts or other heroic elements. So, yeah, sure, you could see it here and there. Is it a big deal? I don't think so. But, it's like asking, well, why don't we just get a Japanese dude to write a story in the West? Like, that would be the solution. It's like, okay, the culture, go for it. That would just be the easiest thing. And we'd ask questions like, why are you doing it this way? And is this authentic to the time period? And that would do it. We don't have to go that far. So this is any problem with any culture trying to represent another. In this case, because Japan is so popular and their culture is so diverse, I'm sure even the Japanese will get things wrong. Like, it's me trying to interpret, the eastern part of Canada. I have no idea. I've never been there. I don't know what it's like. I know some stories, but I can't really properly explain them. So, or the lifestyle or this or that. So that is kind of the problem. It's like, this guy knows what ancient Edo was like. Like, okay, great. You would definitely take apart any modern telling or retelling of Japan. That's fine. It's fair. So, but if fans like it, if the movies sell, I don't mind seeing ancient Japan or ancient Greece or ancient Rome as better than what I thought it would be, for the sake of entertainment, at least. Not for like documentary reasons.
I will be productive and explain what they've actually got wrong. and reveal the pernicious origin of this stereotype. What the heck is this honor thing anyway? Why are ancient Asians in Hollywood films keep trying to gain honor? Are they like Pokemons? Do they get to evolve into a stronger version after they accumulated enough honor points?
Of course.
No, they don't. This might be hard for Hollywood to believe, but Asians are people too. They have
No, they
feelings,
aren't.
pride,
What
fear,
is he
and
talking about?
aspirations. Glory seeking is just one aspect of their lives. But
Glory
the
and
problem
honor are
here
not the same
is that
thing.
when anything is connected to Asians, it's all turned into honor. When a non-Asian's pride is wounded, they are insulted. But when an Asian's pride is wounded, he became dishonored.
It's the same
When
thing.
Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice was pushed to find a good husband, her family was trying to improve their status. But when
Sure.
Mulan was pushed into marriage, it was for the family honor.
Yeah, but that's the
Same
story.
thing.
That's the story.
That's the same thing. It's just different words. It's the same concept
Yeah,
behind it.
the
It's same
family-
motivation, the
yeah,
same
the-
feelings behind that.
Yeah, this is pretty common throughout history. It doesn't matter what culture you're looking at. They want the daughters to marry someone well-to-do or up in the air or up in the...
Gee, like 100 years ago, like in Europe, like that was the fucking pinpoint. Like it's so similar to Japan, in
Yeah.
fact. Like, yeah, 150 years or something like that ago, like princes or kings decide to like marry like some princess who came from like very high-end family to get even more recognizable, like get even more funds for themselves. It was a common practice. But what is so amazing about it? Just because like we got rid of it, it doesn't mean that like it's not here anymore.
Don't the Native Americans had similar concepts?
No, it's like a human thing. It's just like we have like a different cultural approach to it. That's
the
all.
different tribes in Africa. If you disrespect their traditions or whatever they certain other things they do, you'll get in trouble.
Yeah,
And right, that's the word I was looking for. Respect, but I don't respect culture. But I have forgotten how to what my thought process was before.
Yeah.
But-
Like in Hungary, like we have like a very small thing. Like if you go in a shop and you greet someone and you don't get a reply, then like deep down you know that this guy is an asshole. Like at that point, like you know that this person, like you're never gonna be friends with that person anymore, because like that's like it's a major disrespect to like not reply to it.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I know that I went to Finland. I kept like greeting people, and they looked at me weird. They're like, "What the fuck is wrong with this person?"
Oh, like Crocodile Dundee in New York.
Yeah, like I was like, I just like went to like their own shop. I was like expecting like at least I get a hello, like good day, nothing like that. Like I just like put my products to the table. I got it paid for it, and that's it. That's all the communication they did.
But that's also a city versus rural.
I went to
thing.
like 300 kilometers away from Helsinki. Like how much further away I have to go away from there.
Okay,
It's
that's
like
strange.
not really. It's just the people like that. Like it's just like some places, like greeting is not going to be returned. That's the thing.
Maybe it's just the Finnish depression of.
No, it's just Finnish people themselves. Like they are like Moomins.
Now it makes sense. That reference I understand.
Oh, that's cool.
All right.
It is the same, folks. It is just for status and financial security. First of all, there is no such thing as an all-encompassing moral value called honor in Asia. This is just a gross simplification of all the different values and philosophies of these various cultures condensed into an absurd catchphrase. Honor. This is
Yes.
Popularly in the chat just wrote, that guy did a D&D campaign in an Asia setting where he out-murder hoboed his murder hobos.
Bears could add something to that.
Well, some of us like playing murder hobos. It's fun.
Yeah, but when he complains about honor and out murder hobos, the murder hobos of his party, like oh dear, yeah, he doesn't understand basics. Okay,
as dumb as the evil European running around yelling for Greco-Judeo-Christian values.
and no. We also had this honor thing. You're an idiot.
No one.
And like, wait. Holy Grail, like King Artus says, like, we seek the Holy Grail, and like, because like, and he has a scene with like the peasants that like they don't respect him
Because
like,
they didn't vote for
dishonor him.
Yes.
And he makes a scene out of it. Like, are you like that? Whatever. I'm gonna restrain myself. This is just like it's in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Like they don't say it out loud, yes, because it's like Monty Python, so they respect your intelligence, but still, it's like you see it as a European, and like you're like, yeah, this is a king. Like you need to respect him. And like if you show a Japanese setting from the Middle Ages, they're gonna be like, who is this person? Why is he dressed like that? Why does he have a sword? Why does he have a bow and arrow? Like, why are they doing this? Why is he killing himself? They are not gonna be familiar with that saying. You need to introduce them one by one.
Yeah, and if it's just Japanese made for Japanese, there's not much need to explain it because they're familiar with all these concepts from childhood. And it's the other thing I wanted to say. Oh. Right. Similar to here, European movie made for us. We had this kind of knight culture and stuff, and the knights weren't going on about honor all the time because they just knew the rules internally. They had internalized all this stuff, just like the samurai had internalized all the stuff and weren't talking about it all the time. So in movies from us, for us, by us, for us, you don't have it as much. The Japanese now made a movie about medieval European culture. Maybe they would explain more than we would in a movie for ourselves, just like they don't explain the same stuff in a movie made by them for themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone goes around saying for Greco-Judeo-Christian values. I've never heard this term.
We need to make it. I mean, this picture in itself is a meme.
I'm
we have a stream meme, and he made it for us.
I'm just trying to get what he's trying to say. I'm just like, I don't know, man.
And we, at first glance, you were believing that we're not gonna have a discussion about this video, did we?
I know, but everything just seems so straightforward and easy. It's like, yeah, whatever, that's silly. Yeah, whatever, that's not a big deal. Whatever, it doesn't bother me.
Okay. I have a prediction that at the end we will come to the conclusion that he is a dishonorable, valueless, anti-social murder hobo.
But he's an Asian man complaining about Asian representation for Australia. Oh. Now, I only know Black Jacket is our only honorable Asian Australian on our Discord. So
okay.
Oh, he's Asian? I thought he was just from Australia.
I think he's half Japanese, even.
Oh, that's why he's drawing manga so well.
Yes.
All right.
Thought he was just really good.
Here is Richard Lyon Heart Attack. Hey. Has this man never heard of the phrase Deus Vult? The Knights of the Crusade use as a battle chant. It means God wills it. In a way, it is like saying, for Christian values? Hydro? Or for Christ in short?
Yes.
You see, that's what I thought he would say, not for Judeo-Christian values.
Greco-Judeo-Christian.
Greco. Roman Greco-Judeo-Christian values. Or Greco-Roman Judeo-Christian values. Hydro.
I'm all for Gecko values.
Yeah, I don't know what Hydro-Christian values are. That's a bit interesting.
I don't know. It's probably like that Sonic level from Genesis.
Maybe he was just disowned by his family for bringing dishonor upon his people.
Maybe.
Oh yeah,
that's why That's why now he's attacking the concept of honor.
Dishonorably disowned by the Greco-Judeo-Christian
Yeah,
family.
all the Japanese are like, who the hell is this guy? We don't like him. Just get out of our culture.
Get out of here. Ugh.
Oh boy.
Seppuku.
Okay, 3 minutes in, and we're talking about some weird farce. Is that what he's the joke? The hydro-Christian values, the farcical aquatic ceremonies?
I think so.
Ceremonies.
I think so. I think that's. I just got the joke. I was like, what the hell is hydro-Christian values? Like, what the? There's some water goddess or something in Christianity?
No, I think it's about drowning your babies and drinking the blood of Christ.
Oh, okay, baptism or something. Yeah, maybe. Might have been that. But it works with the Monty Python, so anyway.
I love that movie. Like, it's just best, like for me at least.
Yeah, and I first saw it when I was what was that, third grade, 8 years old, and I didn't understand it. I did not understand. It was funny in parts, but I did not understand the plot.
It's hard
to. It gets better with time.
Yeah, you have
the older you get, the more you watch it. It's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, you have to watch it.
The older you get, you need to be a certain age to understand it.
Well, that and you can't really hear everything because they speak somewhat quickly, and if there's subtitles, you're like, oh, that's what they're saying. You're like, oh, I get it now, because they speak so quickly to the peasants, and the peasants are talking about politics, and you're like, what are they saying? And
like all of them have a different accent as well.
Oh, the French are impossible to hear. I could barely understand. John Cleese. I was like, what the hell, John? Hello! Like, what?
Oh, but
like elevators.
You know how products always have safety instructions on what not to do?
Really?
The DVD version of this movie has instructions that for the scenes of the monks chanting and slamming the Bible against their heads, you can do this with the DVD case in case you don't have a Bible at hand.
It's a
and
plank
if
of
you
wood.
are if you are truly faithful, you will turn it on the side and hit your head with the slim end of the DVD case with full force.
I'm quite sure it's a plank of wood. They smack their heads with a plank of wood, yeah.
Oh yeah, but
I think in the VHS version
it
was the coconuts, but I think they also used coconuts in the movie itself.
Well, they didn't bang their heads with the coconuts.
Not to bang their heads with. No,
just the monks.
For banging their heads, it was
the chanting monks.
Either the Bible or a plank of wood. But
the monk scene. Okay.
Yeah, but the DVD had instructions to slam the DVD case against your head, and if you are truly faithful, then with the pointy corner on the side.
Oh my god! All right,
it's great.
Here's Richard Lyon heart attack again. So, all right, thank you again. Sorry, meant to write Judeo-Christian values. Autocorrect is anti-Semitic, I guess. So you accidentally made a joke. All right. But yeah, Muslim jihadists often shouted Allahu Akbar as a battle chant. It means Allah is great or God is great. This man is upset that Asian cultures look cool. Well, maybe it's a gross misunderstanding. That's what he's trying to say.
He's miserable. He's miserable, so everybody needs to be miserable.
Oh, okay. I don't mind if he's trying to be accurate. I don't care. Like, just whatever. But to compare the analogy to this is just a bit off, I think. Anyway, 3 minutes in, we're doing okay.
Yes, the Western moral and ethical values are strongly influenced by Greek philosophies and Christianity. But running around yelling a generalized classification of your values makes anyone sound like a twit.
Not really. No, I don't mind people saying allegories of the cave or various other logical terms that we learn from Greco-Roman values or Stoicism or anything like that. I don't mind that. Categorical imperatives from Kant, that's fine. You could summarize things very quickly, obviously, but that's not the most accurate way of describing philosophy. But that's what we glean from these philosophers because they have so much to say, and then you get the nugget of wisdom. You're like, okay, that's like philosopher kings. That's a term coined by Plato. So great, we'll use that. And we use that in political discourse all the time. So I don't mind that. What's the problem?
It is especially nonsensical when the same word honor is used to equate a samurai's quest for personal glory to their relationship to their lords, loyalty. Because traditionally,
No, you bloody idiot. Those can all be elements of honor. There are different types of honor. And sometimes these things clash with one another.
We're talking about a system of feudalism, I assume, that you have...
Yeah.
In this case, yeah.
Yeah, you have servants or soldiers, and they all are loyal to their lord for good reason, and sometimes there's a good reason not to be loyal. So that's a romantic concept. That's a very committed concept that you're dedicating your life as a warrior to whatever this guy says.
Yeah, and the Japanese have played this out very hard, almost like autists.
Yeah, and the stories that I've read and even watched, I talked about the Highlanders episode, where if the Lord wishes it, he can kill you because you've done something that is slightly bad or doesn't look good to the rest of the empire or the Lord or the land or whatever. And in that story, the samurai, the head of the household, is like, okay, that's what my Lord wants. And everyone's like, what? You're crazy. It's like, no, I'm not crazy. I'm faithful to my retainer, and if he wishes me death because I broke the law, that's his right. You're like, holy shit, you're crazy. It's like, no, that's me. That's the law. That's my house. I need to keep the respect of my house for it to be maintained by the Lord, or my Lord will destroy the house. So
yeah, so that the rest of his family can keep living.
Yeah, and all he did was
living well.
Was taken a gaijin. He took in Duncan MacLeod, and that's against the law. So all gaijin had to be killed or whatever, and he took him in because he saw him as a warrior or whatever, and saved his life.
Yeah, while in European medieval times, due to the Greco-Judeo-Christian stuff, I would just guess at this point that we had higher probabilities and allowances and forms for redemption, for redeeming yourself, than the Japanese had, or at least that's what we see usually in media. Because the redemption, seppuku is the redemption. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. Pretty fatalistic, but that, this is from the culture that accepted that as a form of respect and discipline, which is bizarre. But you can imagine doing that in like medieval Europe, it'll cause a catastrophe. All these people killing each other because the Lord said so. So I don't know. Culture is a bit different.
We had other means to do that.
Oh yeah, but
just murder the entire family.
You just kill them all.
I mean, like if you look into like ways that like you torture people in medieval Europe, that's like amazing. It's like the extent of violence. It's just wow.
Yeah, beheading was a bit cleaner, I guess. I don't know.
That was like if you had a good day, but when they put you in a wheel and then break all your limbs,
God.
And then burn you alive, and then make your servants eat your flesh off while you're burning away. That was one of the punishments that were commonplace in Hungary for the worst criminals, or someone who called the peasant revolt.
Oh boy.
Yeah, are you? And
it's just
no. You don't need to be surprised why the Eastern Europeans have the cooler mythological monsters.
All right, here's Porcelinus IV. Thank you, sir. This guy doesn't understand in Bushido, loyalty and honor are intertwined. It's why the label of Ronin was used such a horrible castigation, that a samurai lacked honor and as such wasn't worthy of a master or the title of a samurai.
We had similar things in Germany. It's called a Raubritter. That is a knight with who can or does not need to be someone who also, what's it called? Someone who robs people on the street. But the Raubritter usually also held castles, and exploited the local peasantry, or could also be rather honorable still. They just didn't serve a feudal lord. We had some, so there are an astonishing amount of similarities, even though the details differ. And now that I think of it, technically, seppuku is also a beheading, because properly done, it's just a beheading with extra steps. Because the one committing seppuku is supposed to slice open his belly, the intestines fall out, and he's supposed to finish the whole thing, which the fewest do, and also not make a pained face, because that would bring shame and dishonor upon him. He would rather the honorable death is to not show your pain while you're doing it. And in order to preserve your honor, in order to help you achieve that, you have the secondant who stands slightly behind you, next to you, and will cut off your head during seppuku if you get to the point where you can't bear it anymore. And I think other cultures also had similar things of torture with torturous death and redemption, but this is just the most well known.
Okay.
Glory seeking is frowned upon, and there were actually many satires written in ancient Japan about vainglorious samurais. Sure, a samurai, like anyone, would have the drive to seek fame and glory. But unless they are socially inept to the 10th degree, they would never go around announcing to everyone that they are seeking honor. Loyalty to the Lord is sacrosanct. It must never be compromised by personal glory seeking. And why do they have to be so loyal to their lords anyway? Are they all brainwashed from birth into blind loyalty? No,
really
because
horrible.
there is a social contract. Their lords grant them land and often pay for their education as their patrons. So that loyalty needs to be earned first. Of course, in the real world, not all lords were benevolent. But those oppressive lords were considered, rightfully, as tyrants. Japanese and Chinese societies have their own cultures and traditions. And even within each of those countries, there are regional differences. But in general, these societies were strongly influenced by Confucianism in the past. Respect for one's superior is an...
Before that, it's Buddhism. The Confucianism, horrible to pronounce in English. There are two different versions of that. The actual one that the nobles use for themselves, and then the twisted version for the people, the plebs, in which, because Confucius, or however you want to call him. We say Confucius, some say Confucius, he says Confucius. He speaks of the what was the word he was using? Right. The Edlen, you could say the honorable people. That's what he means. But if you read it a little bit askew, so that's the people, that's the good people, and the people to aspire to, and the people that actually the enlightened ones that understand the world, that are self-actualizing people. Similar to what where Nietzsche talks about the Übermensch, and the Nazis made shit out of that. There's a similar thing going on here, because what the way they twisted it towards the plebs is that the honorable, the enlightened people, that means the royalty. So in German, the joke works better. Maybe I just can't think of the English words, where he talks about die Edlen, and the royals would be die Adligen. And so that twists it all into you are only a good person if you follow what the royals say, what the blue-blooded people say. And that is not the actual Confucian philosophy. So that is very important to know, to understand why these cultures came to be the way they are. It's basically a big psyop. So there is an appeal to individuality and individual growth in Confucian philosophy, but they twisted it into, no, you must be a subservient peasant and do as I say and kill yourself when I tell you to.
There's a lot of weird traditional stuff that not only does not translate, but it just sounds absolutely bonkers in the text of Confucius. It's still taught today to kids as well in Asia, so it's not.
Yeah. I
heard of.
Pokalip in the chat brought me the word the nobles. So in the English translation, it's also, he speaks of the noble people, but since that you can read that as the royalty, the noble blood. You can misinterpret this as follow the leaders, but what he means with noble is the enlightened, self-actualizing individual that thinks critically.
Okay, yeah, no, there's lots of traditions that don't make sense, all for the sake of banquets, representations. So if someone comes to visit, what clothing, what scarf you should wear, what time of day it is, and what color the scarf should be. There's all these bizarre rituals that don't make any sense nowadays, that obviously don't hold up. But there's other morals and ethics in there that they do teach kids. So there's always something. There's a little nugget of wisdom in there. You just have to go fishing for it. I don't know what version they teach nowadays because I obviously didn't grow up in that environment. But it is part of the culture. It's still around. It's the same with us reading Plato or us reading. I don't know. Pick your medieval or ancient philosopher that influenced your culture. There's bound to be someone talking about Lao Tzu or the I Ching or any other old book from old white dead guys. So
what? Lao Li was an old white dead guy?
He is today.
What? How is he? Oh, right, because Asians are white now.
Yeah.
Read the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tse or Lao Li or however he's called in your country. Yeah, but the funny thing is that it is very likely that Lao Tse never existed. That instead he was. You're familiar with the concept of ghostwriter, where you want to be famous and someone else writes the good stuff for you and
the Bible,
publish it under your name. But the thing with Lao Tse, that it is likely the other way around, that a bunch of Chinese philosophers all claimed, I have this awesome idea, and the greatest philosopher of all time, the Hi, Mr. Lao Li, he approves of it, or he said it, and then you attribute the shit that you make up to Lao Tse, to Lao Li, and then others pick up on this, like, who is this? Because Lao Li never objected to it. Well, I'll add my stuff to it, and then you get this body of work attributed to Lao Tse, who probably never existed, but everybody thinks this is the best stuff ever, and lots of it is very good. The way that why people believe this to be the case is that the Tao Te Ching, which is 9 times 9 little wisdoms, they're written in completely different styles. Like that, there are chunks that are written in one style, chunks that are different in another style, and so on, and that implies that it is different authors entirely. It's great. I love this stuff about history. That doesn't diminish the truth in it, though.
Yeah, it's the same. People have what was it? Who's that neuroscientist that argues a lot? He says, "What's the probability of Jesus being real, and what's the probability of Socrates being real?" He's like, well, Socrates never, walked on water and did all these other crazy things, but he could have just been a ghostwriter for Plato. So it's fun to think about.
It's fun to think about, but I don't think so, because Plato's own work are not as good.
Well, Plato never wrote anything down. It's one of the That's the problem with a lot of these people, these old guys. They taught, they just never wrote it down. Other people had to write it down. And that's why we get secondhand accounts of everything. So, anyway.
An important part of Confucianism, but the superiors are also expected to be benevolent, from emperor to subject and father to son. If the emperor is tyrannical, then it would mean that he had lost the mandate of heaven and the people have the right to overthrow him. Even though a son is not expected to overthrow his parents, the parent is expected to provide love and everything else for their children, sometimes even at the expense of their own well-being. According to an HSBC survey, Asian parents are the biggest spenders on their children's education on per-child basis. And if you compare it to the respective countries' GDP per capita, the amount became staggering.
Wow, the difference between China and Hong Kong is staggering.
Hong Kong, you have to understand, is like the free market capital of the world, pretty much.
Yeah, not anymore. This is part of the reason why they wanted to gobble up wanted to gobble it up early.
Yeah, I know.
Oh god.
Times are changing. Yeah.
Yeah. Can we wrangle it free from the Chinese?
Not with our current political system. No, I don't think so. Here is Nick Cage.
I've lost contacts in Hong Kong. I have no idea how they're doing.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Yeah. Or if they're still in one piece, or whether their organs were sold one by one.
I have family who is still in Hong Kong, and everything's great. So I don't know specifically what's going on, but the riots were a thing. That was a big deal a few years back. Anyway. Nick Cage, only with a C. Wisp, funny thing you mentioned about the Chinese philosopher Lali Lulelo. There was a prestigious women's romance novel award ceremony in Spain where the award went to a group of 3 guys who used a woman's pseudonym.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
And then there was great outrage because the great woman writer that got an award turned out to not exist, and instead be 3 guys.
Well, that's the great thing about romance stories and Harlequin romance. The formulaic style of it is so easy to get into. You can make the ultimate Harlequin romance. You can make a series of them. They're all the same, and women love that shit. It's bizarre.
Yeah, which also implies that the bar for good women writing isn't very high.
No. They know what they like. They want it over and over again. That's great. Oh boy.
Is it?
Well, for arguments regarding objectivity in media, it's like it's so easy to use that as a stat.
I can't stand these movies. I had to watch the Twilight shit. I had to watch this Souls shit from the same
and they're free.
writer. It was unbearable.
Go on YouTube, all the Hallmark films, all the Christmas films, all the romance at I think the Valentine's Day-ish. Like it's a special occasion. Oh, someone's getting married. It's always some festival in Europe. Something's going on that everyone has to come together and they find new love there. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great. Exciting stuff. I don't know. Women think of these things. Men are like, are they serving steak? Like, is there a nice beer bar there? Like, what do they got going?
Yeah, the important stuff.
The important stuff, yeah. Is it worth my time? Does it taste good? Let's go. Yeah. Anyway.
In comparison, this is an anecdote, but I have heard stories of a friend's mother who cried and blamed herself for not being able to buy her daughter an apartment. Yes, an apartment. You know how much do homes cost nowadays? Yes. They are not even rich, and yet they have this kind of mindset. In the case of Mulan, in these adaptations, we often see her father doing nothing much besides being old and frail. And because in the live-action Mulan, he constantly disapproved of her and nagged her since she was young. Why would she even take her father's place in war when we are not even shown her father being worthy of her filial piety? Yes.
Because 1, family, 2, that movie is shit.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to...
Yeah, shit. Why do you need to use a shitty example of a shitty movie from a shitty company.
Yeah, so Mulan wanted to be a soldier regardless of what was going on because she wanted to save people's lives or whatever. In the movie example, it was her dad's sword thing? I don't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, because otherwise her father would have had to go
Yeah.
to the war. And she didn't want that.
Yeah. So she loves her dad, even though her dad is saying, "You're a bad person, Mulan. Don't do this." And she does it anyway because she loves her family.
Yeah, in the cartoon, in the Disney cartoon, her dad was likable.
Yeah, but this is
Much
kind of silly.
much more so.
So what if the dad wasn't good to her? She's still that's even more reason for her to be a tragic hero. To say, yeah, but even if my dad's being a hard ass, she's still my dad, or he's still my dad.
Yeah, she loves her dad, like real children do that have good parents. You don't need to see every single bit of it. Children tend to love their parents. Maybe you don't.
Yeah, the whole thing
because you're a psychopath.
The whole the whole mystical thing about chi and she has abnormally strong chi is like, okay, that's too much. You didn't have to go that far.
Yeah, that was just stupid.
Yeah. Gotta make it supernatural. It's like, no, you don't. It's fine the way.
In the cartoon, she didn't need to have magical superpowers.
Chi, your chi is so strong. It's like, you're a little girl. No, you don't. Stop it.
They just wanted excuses to have superhero scenes for the Mary Sue girl.
I know. That was bizarre.
Female character can't have flaws.
I don't mind.
Impossible.
Yeah, I don't mind if they want to do the Hong Kong thing and have like wire fu and all these other people jumping up and down. That's fine. I don't care. But to have like an explanation like it's chi, like this magical. It's like, okay. Is this a martial art film or are we watching Mulan? Which one is it? Do your own unique story if you're going to do it that way. Don't use Mulan and then put in magical powers. You don't have to do that. It's like having Sherlock Holmes is a cyborg. You're like, what? No, you don't need that. He's just Sherlock Holmes. Leave him alone.
What was the name?
Anyway, let's keep going.
In the Ballad of Mulan, the original work they are referencing, Mulan just went to war in her father's place. But the readers who live in this culture understood the context. The father must be a very loving father to deserve her outstanding act of filial piety. But in the live-action Mulan, she just did it. Like in the poem, but without context. And I bet the screenwriters didn't even know why she did it. So all we get to see is just her.
So the live action, yes, I admit the screenwriters had no clue what they were doing. That's fair.
I don't think anyone is going to argue or defend Mulan, the live action movie.
Yeah,
everyone wrote it off as the biggest piece of shit ever.
Yeah. He's right. I agree.
Running off to join the army to save her naggy, disapproving father for reasons. Confucianism is not just about honor. In Confucianism, there are 5 constant virtues: benevolence, righteousness, ritual propriety, knowledge, trustworthiness, and more, including loyalty, filial piety, bravery, and so on.
This is great. This is great. There are 5 virtues and more. Dude! You're not good at giving talks. Please don't become a teacher.
Yeah, when you talk about Plato's virtues, it's like there's these ones and that's it. It's number them. Okay, that's how many there are. There are 8. It's like, no, 4.
He's going full like Jordan Peterson was, like the 12 rules of virtue.
Yeah, I know. Well,
and he's 12 more.
Yeah, I know that. I never read the second book yet because I'm like, wait a second, Jordan, what are you doing? Why are you selling?
Oh, wait, there's more.
Yeah,
he explained it because it's the other side of the whole thing. Where was I? Oh, right. So ignore anything this guy says and just read Lao Tse. Go right to the source. Read the Tao Te Ching.
Well, everyone
you're covered. You're covered. It doesn't matter whether you're an atheist. The Tao Te Ching is a good book. It's a good foundation for orienting you in regards to how to conduct yourself.
It's basically poetry. There's multiple translations. get a good translation, then you're fine. Because a lot of ones that I
Yeah.
read are really weird. They don't translate very well for some reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, check it out.
certain circumstances, some of these virtues can contradict each other because life is complex, and even Confucius acknowledges that. So there are already plenty of nuance in the lives of these ancient peoples to create a great drama. But all the big movie
Okay.
producers just want honor.
No, they don't.
Now, let me ask you one thing. Are you having difficulty understanding what I am saying so
Yes.
far?
Yes, I do.
But that's only because you're bad at explaining it, and maybe you misunderstand it in the first place.
Yeah, he is trying to sell us that Hollywood is stuck up on Japanese and Asian culture being completely about honor. It's like, I don't think that's the case. I think that's a big element, but it's not like the only element. Or else all the stories from Hollywood with Japan backgrounds or settings would be boring. They'd just be like, another honor story, another samurai, another Ronin. It's like, ugh. I don't think that's the case. Anyway, here's the Giga Chat. Hey, how's it going? There is one Confucian value, and it's that I come to your house and have sex with your wife. What?
What?
That's not a Confucian value, sir. I'm not sure what value that is, actually. Anyway, we are almost halfway done.
I don't think so. Sure, we can't understand everything about another culture just by watching a few movies or anime series. But the fact is, they are not impenetrable. Hollywood is just insulting our intelligence.
Okay.
And
Wait, dude. Anime is made by the Japanese. And they do this shit.
Yeah, you know the formal father meeting the daughter's boyfriend for the first time. There's so many stories of that in rom-coms from anime.
Yeah. Hollywood is just bad at writing in general for at least the last 20 years.
Well, yeah.
This is that is your problem. Your problem is that Hollywood's bad at writing. Because they don't give a shit about the most important element of a movie.
I don't see anything inherently wrong with using honor as a major theme or to characterize someone. I think he's just taking a very generic or rather a general approach to Hollywood looking at Japan and Asia as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And there is some truth to that, but it's not like a huge issue. And I'm not too concerned because I guess I just don't watch too many movies these days that it doesn't bother me. But I need a specific example that is either recent or is like super popular. And I think the only one I could think of was The Last Samurai, because that's Tom Cruise, big name, specifically in the certain period where that would be a weird thing to see. So that would be good to critique, like for him to actually take that apart and then do another one, like I don't know, video games or something. That might help, because right now I'm like, whatever. Yeah, sure. Not that big a deal.
they think that we can't understand other cultures. It is actually possible to do it right. Some people have done it and they have become tremendously successful even. All they need to do...
Yeah, but those movies were successful too. So, what's the problem?
I think he's using a directional microphone and is talking into it from different sides and moving his head around all the time.
Oh, I see.
He's dishonoring the microphone.
Yes. He's shaming, dishonoring my ears.
Oh.
Should be followed by a seppuku.
is to
With
just
the
write
microphone.
actual human being.
Yes, have a katana cut the
I'm-
arm brace of the microphone.
Yeah, dude, when you say actual human being and you put on these eyes onto your avatar, I'm really starting to doubt that you are one.
Oh, he's an alien.
Like Tommy was so.
Tell me what so teaches Polish culture. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, I'm at the point where I am not so sure anymore if psychopaths are complete humans because they lack key elements that even dogs have.
No. Tommy was so teaching Asian culture.
Oh boy. I still want to see that. I still like everything with Tom
Yes.
Russo.
Yeah, I'm still hung up on this right here.
All right.
Avatar: The Last Airbender. Even though this show uses quite a lot of the honor trope, it is mostly confined to the character Zuko, and that's what his whole character development is about. Him learning to let go of his obsession with honor. Kung Fu Panda only
That's also kind of the joke with him.
Yeah, and it's because he's been taught wrongly about all this, because he's just supposed to be a loyal puppet.
Yes,
And the loyal puppet alone does not make honor.
exactly.
use the word honor once throughout the whole film, and it is just
Comedy.
said in the context of a common English expression. This movie is a global success because it treats the characters as real persons. Despite
It's a comedy, though. This is completely different.
Yes.
You can't have a serious... Well, you can, but it can't be that serious when you have a bunch of anthropomorphic spoken animals fighting each other comically.
Let alone having a fucking panda bear be the main character.
Yeah, well... I don't know. You could argue there are some serious elements to these movies, and that's fair, but if it's for kids and it's for fun and it's for jokes, like, then what does it matter? Let them talk about...
Even with all that, they're still really damn good.
Yeah, they could be talking about birthday cakes and who makes the best birthday cake and who's the best, sugar person. Like, I don't care. Like, sure, whatever's fun.
Wait, he's got a shitty little kid now?
No, that's just someone from the tribe.
Oh.
Okay.
That would have been some shit if it was. He meets his dad. That's something.
Yeah, I only saw the first two. I didn't know there were more movies.
them
Did
being
you remember the
anthropomorphic
cliffhanger at the end of 2?
No?
Well, 3 follows up on that. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right.
Okay.
and it is so popular and successful in China, it is ridiculous. But this condescension
Yeah, but then we have like Frozen
That's
2.
because of pandas. Not because of honor, but because of pandas. Because they like pandas, despite pandas being completely useless.
I'm just looking up the stats for Kung Fu Panda 3, which came out in 2016, and Frozen 2, which came out in 2019. Yeah, Frozen destroys that by several $100 million. Let's see.
Who cares? Disney doesn't deserve it anyway.
Yeah, worldwide box office for Frozen 2 was $1.445 billion. For Kung Fu Panda worldwide, it was $521 million. Little difference. So maybe the Asians like, I don't know, frost witches and their sisters who are white. I don't know.
Yeah.
and Russian Christoph. Were they Russians? I don't remember the male characters. Was it European setting or something?
Scandinavian, I think.
Scandinavian? Okay. Yeah.
It was
Yes.
it was basically a Barbie movie with anime magic, and it had nothing to do with.
It tried to have like colonization as like a theme to the entire thing, but
Second movie is just the first movie with more magic.
Made a second.
Oh yeah, Frozen 2. That's
No,
what I said.
Frozen.
Frozen 2.
Is that one
Yeah.
of these straight to
Yeah, Frozen
DVD things?
It's a
No, it's not.
backstory. It's a backstory to Frieza from Dragon Ball Z.
A Disney or Pixar movie has not been direct to video in decades.
Okay, because I think there are like 50 million Ariel movies.
If you missed Frozen 2,
Just 3.
holy crap. I don't know where you were like a few years ago, but that was all my niece would watch when she came by. Just, let's watch Frozen again.
I have no niece. I hated the first one. I tend to hate Disney movies in general, with exceptions. and just no go.
They're designed.
Imagine like
God.
bringing your kid
And
next
it had
to us, and
nothing
like
to
Whisp
do- it
just
had-
starts talking like how much I hate this.
And it was
Like,
just.
I
It
know
wasn't-
like
it
you're
wasn't-
only 2, but like I hate everything about this.
Disney was never good.
I really hate Disney.
Do you want to sing and dance? Watch a Disney flick. Okay, it doesn't matter.
I'm gonna dig him out from the grave.
The
Like,
songs
piss
are
on
so
him.
shit. No, I think Walt Disney would be embarrassed at what his company is making nowadays.
Yes.
But while the other Disneyfications of European fairy tales were like just making them nice and sweet and taking out the bad stuff, Frozen has absolutely nothing to do with the original fairy tale, except for there's a woman who can use ice magic.
Is
They
it
were
any?
basing
Is
it
it
on,
any?
on anything?
Is it any surprise that Real World Greece hates the Hercules movie, but ironically enough loves the God of War series pre-reboot? You want to know why?
Well, I was just trying to think of. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said because I still
No,
have this thing in my head.
Well, I'll if you'll allow me, I'll say it again.
Because Zeus is represented
No,
being
no,
an actually good father figure.
Yeah, the main reason why actual Real World Greece has more adoration for the God of War series over Disney's Hercules movies because of accuracy to the mythology.
Yeah, and with Dead of War, Dead of Boy, that's out the window because they don't treat the Norse mythology the same way. And what was? Oh, right. The funny thing is that I forgot. I think they have a special name.
I mean,
But in Green
Thor
Lantern,
accurate?
in Green Lantern, the Pink Lanterns are a
Star
more
Sapphires.
accurate representation of the fairy tale behind Frozen, of the Ice Queen, than Frozen is.
The Star Sapphires?
Yes, the
Really?
Star Sapphires are a better representation of the Ice Queen fairy tale than Frozen.
Me being a DC buff, if that's actually I never actually realized that. Wow.
Well,
Well,
unless,
that came as a shock.
unless they're not singing and dancing, I don't care. So
Stop dancing.
Just wait until if some Lego DC game has the Star Sapphires doing just that.
yeah, we'll watch
I mean,
it.
look, what they're doing is they make a man love them, and then because they draw the power from that love, they then freeze him in a crystal in that state, so they can forever draw from him as an energy
Yes.
source.
The Star
Yeah, and-
Sapphires, based on the
Yes.
power of love, are sexual predators.
Yes, exactly. It's completely abusive. It is evil. It's outright evil. And the Ice Queen story is that. The Ice Queen wants to be loved. She's a psychopath. She cannot even feel love. So she only wants to own someone, control someone, make him love her, and in that moment of love, she will, before that, she will take away the one you love, because that proved to her that you can love. And then after driving that wedge between the two of you, and trying to make you love her, she will then freeze you up so that you can love her forever as you are in that ice crystal. That's the story. Doesn't sound very much like the Disney movie, but much more like Green Lantern.
All right.
Wouldn't be surprised if the Star Sapphires concept was actually based on the Snow Queen in the first place.
Yes, exactly.
I would not be.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That is the story Hans Christian Andersen wrote, and
as usual,
the
Disney
whole
fucked it up
thing
big
is-
time.
yeah, and all the Disney witches, the Grimm's fairy tale witches, and the Hans Christian Andersen story is in that vein of old fairy tales. All those witches are examples of bad women. They have what we could attribute to them various personality disorders, narcissism, borderline, with their absolute jealousy, with their revenge plots, with the Ice Queen is an outright psychopath. She's completely antisocial. With her manipulation schemes and her obsession to control, because she can't actually feel anything like a psychopath. She's just hard logic controlling, but she doesn't really understand humans. That's the thing with psychopaths.
All right.
Yeah, but I'm getting lost in the topic.
Let's keep
But
going.
you get the idea. You get the idea.
Yeah, that is pretty much the Star Sapphires in a nutshell.
All right. Here's the Porcelinus IV again. Fun fact about Kung Fu Panda: China was angry that they didn't come up with the concept first. Also, if he's mad at live-action Mulan, you can blame the CCP for, shall we say, curating the film. Didn't they get subsidies from the Chinese government or something like that to film in China or certain areas of China?
I guess.
I can't remember. I know that they had to...
Yeah, next to the death camps.
Something. Yeah, there was some story about people working or some bad conditions. I can't recall. Anyway. Old news, don't care. Let's keep going.
Standing idea that the masses are just too dumb to understand another culture is not limited to just Hollywood. Ghost of Tsushima. I love the game. I completed it and destroyed all the
did he just say Tsushima?
Wait. Well, yeah, I do find his accent very racist. It's very stereotypical. But that aside, this is I'm also already baffled that he's going this route, because how he's gonna complain about Ghost of Tsushima, because the island of Tsushima, or village, whatever city, gave an official honoring to the company, to the game makers, because they brought so much attention to the place and to the culture, to their mythology, and even got raised money in order to repair an old shrine, or I think the shrine. Good luck tearing that apart.
All right.
After the main campaign, the Japanese also loved it. But if you play anything strange and praise the dialogue for the use of ancient Japanese vocabulary. However, they were playing the game with the Japanese dubbing. But if you play the game in the original English dialogue, oh boy do they ham it up with the samurai thing. For example, in this part in the English version, Jin, the main character, said,
We are 80 samurai against an army.
And in the Japanese version, he said,
我が方は80無勢なれど
In the Japanese version, he literally just said, there are 80 on our side. He didn't say samurai. Later on, Jin's uncle gave a short speech, and it ends with the cringe-inducing,
We are samurai!
But in the Japanese dub, he actually said,
我らこそモノノフだ
In Japan, samurai really just means the social class these retainers belong to. Not all of them were warriors. Some are just clerks.
What did he say then? Like, he didn't... Did I miss that?
He didn't translate.
They used a different
you.
word.
Like, you can't do something like that. That's... No.
All right, so samurai.
Because I want the context. Like, what did he say then?
What does Google Translate say?
To what? With that Momo
my
Mofu? Or?
No, fool.
My Japanese is way too basic. I don't have a vocabulary.
Well, all he's saying right now is that the samurai were more than just warriors. They were also guys who were on the field. Which
Yes,
is
but
fine.
like again, like I have like a knight example again, knighthood from Europe. Like if a Japanese person has to see something like that, like would the translators add like extra dialogue or vocabulary to the characters to explain the situation? Because they see like an armored person with like the cross, and they wouldn't understand the symbolism at all.
Yeah, this is where you have to think of. There's very young people playing these games. They learn through this.
This is fine. There's nuance to the word samurai, but for the English translation to say we are samurai, it's like, oh, we get it. You are a bunch of people on the battlefield, and you know what you're trying to do. Like this is understood. We don't need to know the exact multi-tiered definition of the word samurai to get that these are a bunch of guys who are about to die. They're soldiers, they're warriors, whatever. Good enough. We don't need to know we are specifically this kind of warrior or this kind of person, unless there's some nuance that really the scene is not explaining to us that we need to know. And for my purposes, just seeing it at surface level, I'm okay with it. I see nothing wrong with it. Anyway.
Or layabouts, but the warrior samurais are called bushi. So in Japan, when you see these armed warriors, they are called bushi because they don't care about the other bureaucratic nerds in the samurai social class. But kanji in Japan can be read in various different ways. Bushi is a word imported from China, but mononofu is an archaic indigenous word that predates bushi that's rolled into the same kanji. So by using the word mononofu, he was invoking the long and storied tradition of them being the ancient traditional warriors of the land.
Okay, so what do you suggest?
So
like, how would you translate that? Like,
Yeah,
He must
if
yell
it's a
in,
dub, okay,
in-
like if it's an anime, then you can have some text on the top explaining it by the translator.
Yeah, but you
That
just
would-
have
that would
to
look
put
so-
a lip
so
sync
retarded.
to say we are the ancient traditional warriors of the land,
Yeah.
which is the samurai. Aren't those the ancient traditional warriors of the land?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's
You can't like have like something like so different for pacing. Like
Okay.
you would need to change the entire scene to make that work.
So let's compare this to something we could understand in the West. So let's say we have the American military. There's all kinds of divisions and classes, right? So you have like the SEALs, you have Rangers, you've got the ground troops, you've got the Marine Corps. You have all these stages. So you would never say, I'm with the SEALs or I'm with the Marine Corps. Like, they're their own categories, right? So you want to get that specific, but you would just use the name then. You would just use the noun. So in this case, we don't know what the hell a mononofu is, right?
We have in German we have similar things where we have tons of different words for the same thing that have slightly different nuance.
Yes, exactly.
That if you translate it into English, it's all the same word. It's like, how do I make this translation work so that people get the fucking difference? Because this is also due to the grammar differences in grammar. For example, English has a very strict word order. That's how, because it lacks the grammar it has lost all the grammar to do it any other way. In German, like in other similar languages, Russian, I think Spanish too, but German, Russian definitely. You can put the words anywhere in the more or less anywhere in the sentence. May sound a bit weird sometimes, but the word order is not as fixed. But it gives it a different connotation of where you put which word due to our grammar, like with these all these different annoying endings on the words. It is indicated which other word this word is in relation to in the sentence. So if you would translate it into English, 5 different or word orders of the same sentence would end as the same English sentence.
Right. So in this case,
but how do you get these nuances across in translation? That's the problem, and this is a similar problem. How do you get these nuances across?
right, and unless this is a part of the narrative, like constantly being referenced, then you'd have to use another term. Unless they just kept using samurai. So if they keep using samurai throughout the story, and this guy says we are the samurai, it makes the same reference. It's the same meaning. And they could have even had dialogue or narration saying the samurai were defenders of the island or whatever. And it's like, okay, now you're associating the meaning of mononofu to samurai, and they're just using samurai as a result. That's fair. That's
you have
fine.
a difference between are you doing a plain text translation? Are you doing subtitles? Because you have way more freedom there. But if it's verbal, if it's a dub, you have much bigger limitations. It's much more difficult.
Yeah, I know. We've seen this with the equipment, for example, all the various styles of sword or spear that the Japanese have specific terms for. In most cases, it's just katana or dachi or whatever the sword might be.
Just call it sword.
We get it. It's a specific kind of weapon. It's either a spear or a sword. We get it. The Japanese have their own versions. We don't need to know that it's a specific kind of katana or a specific kind of spear. That's not relevant unless the game, like you get a naginata or you get a halberd or you get a double-sided spear or whatever, then yeah, you might want to know the term for that. But that's all it is. It's just the name. As long as you're pointing to the thing and you know what the hell that meaning is, the translation's fair. We don't need all this extra term with the word if it has already been presented in the narrative. So in this case, I imagine if you were to play the game with Japanese voice and English subtitles, samurai would be said over and over again as opposed to mononufu.
Yeah, it's maybe not as relevant to this, but it's who knows the difference between a mesa and a dagger?
You mean the number?
What? No. The bladed weapon types.
Oh.
A mesa is one-sided. It has one sharp edge. A dagger has is both sides. Is two bladed on both sides,
right.
And the handle is different. Mesa has a very different handle. A mesa can be the size of a sword, of an arming sword, but the handle is different. So it's basically that. But I saw two interesting messages in the chat. That is Eagle One, who said, "No, samurai was given to high-ranking warriors. Bushi was a generic term for warriors in general." Okay. And Cyber, because he highlighted me, aren't knights the high class of European medieval period? So why can't it be treated the same? Yes, knights were. It's expensive to be a knight. Do you have any idea what that armor cost?
You have to have a horse. You have to have a squire. You have to maintain everything. Yeah, a blacksmith to get all this equipment from.
Yeah, and the knave would be the knight in training that you have.
Yeah, you have to own land. You have to grow crops. You have to pay taxes. There's lots of responsibility. So.
Yeah, so just picking up a sword doesn't make you a knight. Having random armor pieces doesn't make you a knight.
So I'm not too offended that they're using samurai. Is it the correct term? No, but if the story is consistently using that term or a new word and he's using that term consistently throughout the story, then it's fine. It's totally fine. You can give it
just from visuals, if I see all of them have their elaborate full armor on, it looks like it works, like it's
exactly.
all samurai. Okay, I can accept that. The question is, would Tsushima have any critiques about the game? Of these things, of these cultural things. That is what I would be interested about, and not what this racist weirdo psycho has.
Well, if there was a difference between, let's say, military and militia, and it was never referenced, like you see a bunch of guys in fatigues and they got pitchforks or whatever, it's like, that doesn't look right. But they're calling them the military. That doesn't, like, something's wrong there. So there has to be a visual, there has to be a meaningful, like a reference and a sensical understanding of the thing you're referring to, or why you'd use a different term, because people might know the difference. In this case, we don't know what mononufu is, and if you replace it with something else that we do know, and I think it's well understood that samurai are warriors. We don't need to know that they're also administrators, but that's fair as well. But in that context, they're not going to start using an abacus and start counting money. They're going to pull out their weapons and they're going to go kill themselves. So we don't need to know, we are samurai, let's do our taxes. It's not like, okay, well, that's not what the scene is. It's calling for fight, calling for a battle. That is the context we want. That's what's been presented. It makes sense. Is it historically 100% perfect? No. We don't expect that, though. So this is a mountain out of a molehill, I think. And I think it's more of a storytelling issue than it is a translation issue.
But in the original English script, they are just samurai. Samurai, samurai, samurai. So the localization team deserves a lot of the credit for the success of Ghost of Tsushima in Japan. But what I find strange is that after seeing this nuanced Japanese script, why the heck didn't they fix and improve the English version? Is it because they think that we English speakers don't deserve a nuanced quality dialogue? I don't know.
I explained.
No, those people, I have no idea what the moo 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 foo 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 is. I already forgot about the phrase. I'm sorry.
If you had Ashigaru, you could just translate it as conscript.
Yeah, they're still warriors.
That's
Though.
not what they are.
They're still warriors, right? They're still guys ready to defend and fight for their homeland. There could be militia. There could be all these terms, but they stuck with samurai, and that makes perfect sense. I don't see the problem.
Yeah.
Then
Essentially,
so my thing is, if he wants it to be translated better, then give me an example what would be a better translation in that scene. Give it to me.
He's not gonna give it to me.
Instead of just complaining, because if you had ever done real translation work yourself, if you would actually care, you would give us that example. So it's not just about having done translation work. It's just caring about it.
Yeah, we're
but
arguing.
You don't give
oh
us
my
that.
god, that reminds me of like when I read like a line of like what Berserk is like in Hungarian, and they translated the Black Swordsman into the Black Champion. I cringed. I just no.
Well, this is an argument over synonyms for words that would make sense to the audience viewing them. So maybe the translator could be wrong. Maybe the localization company or whatever, the group who did it was like, I don't think putting in Mono Nufu is going to help unless we have in subtitles like brackets samurai so the audience knows what the hell they're talking about. Plus, you'd have to write the script for all the actors to say Mono Nufu instead of samurai, just to get the point across that it's so nuanced. We can't use any other word. We have to do it one-to-one. I don't think do they even do that in the game? They have direct nouns of terms they can't properly translate. Like obviously people's names are nouns. That's fair, but like jobs, like blacksmith would be something specific, like a certain kind of blacksmith, the guy who just makes arrows or something like that. I don't know. I get the need for detail, but is this really needed? I don't think so.
Tell me. Right. By now, you must be wondering, where did all this misunderstanding of Asian history and culture come from? Well, there are two main sources.
Okay.
Inazo Nitobe's Bushido, the Soul of Japan, and Ruth Benedict's The Chrysanthemum and the Sword. But the latter is more influential in this context. In her book, Ruth Benedict introduced the idea of guilt culture versus shame culture. She argued that Americans can feel guilt more than the Japanese, who are mostly controlled by their sense of shame. If they can get away with heinous crimes without anyone knowing about it, they would do it, she said.
I'm kind of curious the difference between guilt and shame. I'm sure there's a nuance, but it's still a negative recurring emotion that you think about something.
Yeah.
Unless there's a psychological connection, I don't see, I feel guilty about what I did. I feel shame about what I did. You're always referencing the past and you want to correct that mistake or you never do and it always haunts you. So it's the same. The effect is the same. You feel bad. You don't perform as well as you should. It slows you down. It holds you back from whatever you're trying to experience.
I'm thinking because I constantly have this the psychopath issue in my head because you can't so just from a cultural perspective, a guilt-based culture cannot control its psychopaths because psychopaths are incapable of feeling guilt. They can't. They have no remorse. It's not there. It's the faculty in the brain that does that stuff is offline. With a shame culture, however, that might be a tad more possible. Technically, because technically in Eva, the psychopath would operate in I don't want to be found out, of course. But I have a feeling that the shame culture is more likely to punish the psychopath for when it comes out. Because we also have this, we must forgive everyone, everything crap going on. I don't know. It's food for thought.
Yeah.
Originally, she claimed that the Japanese did not believe in hell, so they can't conceive any consequences to.
They have a concept of hell.
Yeah, they do.
It's just different from ours.
Yeah.
Or different from the Christian one. Just like the Norse concept of hell is very different. The Norse concept of hell is just, it's boring.
It's
fucking boring.
Isn't the Norse
cold and it's boring.
Exactly.
In the Lone Wolf and Cub, it's almost referenced every story.
Yeah, they believe in that. They have I already forgot what it's called.
It's the path of Meifumato or something like that.
Meifumato, we walk the path of Meifumato and the 6 ways or paths. One of those.
I was just gonna say that the Norse equivalent of hell stands out the most because it's ice instead of fire.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and in Hindu Buddhist beliefs, you have Naraka, which is their version of it.
Yeah, it's amazing how all these cultures have the same ideas of the afterlife or variations of the same ideas of the afterlife. Pretty cool, huh? Humanity. Look at that.
Smart for you. Hell would be a world without cheese.
Why cheese specifically?
The cheese.
I mean,
because it's cheese.
It would be a very nostalgic place that nothing satisfies you, but it would be hell. You'd be very sad, but you wouldn't be suffering. You'd still be eating beef, so that's all right. Anyway,
not even beef.
Well, then you're gonna die. You can't. What's the point? Why go on? Just end your life. Who cares?
Everyone.
A life without meat is not worth living.
No protein, no fat. What are you doing with your life? What's the point?
Or is he gonna argue that the spiritual sense of what kind of hell they envision themselves? Because he's gonna approach it that they all go to hell. It's just a different place for them because there's no heaven in Japanese folklore.
Yeah,
there is the place where all the gods are.
How many versions of hell there is?
It's this weird fictional noble culture that the gods. I love it. It's amazing.
All right. Well, hopefully
it's just a reflection of things on Earth, but with gods.
It's pretty great.
Oh, Olympus.
All right. Well, we got 4 minutes left, so.
Thank the Lord.
Their depravity. And you know what? She's wrong. Hell, Jigoku, does exist in Japan, and it was brought over by the Buddhists. While Zen Buddhism do not put a lot of emphasis in hell, there are other Buddhist sects that do. Jigoku is like purgatory, where evil souls are tortured and purified before they can be reincarnated. Every Japanese knows about it, even kids. Today, you can even see it being featured in various popular media. The reason why she reached this outlandish conclusion is because she was commissioned by the US Office of War Information to research and write about the Japanese during the Second World War.
Or the information she garnered wasn't very diverse or large enough to constitute saying they believe in hell. I'm sure some persons in Japan did. Some religious elements did. She just didn't have enough time and she didn't talk to enough people. You can't just. She was paid by the government not to. It's wait a second.
How's this relevant again?
I don't know. He's going somewhere with this, but apparently hell didn't exist.
So supposedly, all these Hollywood producers get their visions of Japanese and Asian culture from wartime propaganda.
I guess.
Are you for fucking real?
From the 1930s or whatever, whenever she died?
I mean, it's either this or George Takei, and I don't know which poison I'm gonna pick.
George
himself.
Takei. Oh my god. America, we love you, but holy hell.
Don't get me started on that guy.
Every day I'm like, okay.
I've lost so much. What's the word?
You know, like I wish
for
like
that
he was
guy.
more like Sulu from Star Trek. I never say these things that I wish like someone would be more like the part that they are acting, but like, oh god,
It never meet your
just stop.
heroes. It's I have a similar issue, less extreme, but a similar issue with Patrick Stewart.
Yes,
Like Picard, awesome. It's a series Picard, awesome, absolutely astonishing character. Patrick Stewart, bloody communist.
He's got
Not a very smart one.
He's got issues. Anyway.
She did not speak Japanese, and obviously, due to the war, she did not even visit Japan. So she wrote this book by relying on the accounts of some few Japanese living in America at the time. So that's why the Japanese were depicted as ferocious, honor-bound warriors with blind loyalty to the emperor.
Okay, so
yeah, where's the,
okay, so
Where's the
where's the
lie?
mistake here?
Where's the lie?
when they attacked Pearl Harbor and they suicide bombed them, why do you think they did that? It felt like a good idea at the time? No, they were ordered to do so, and they did it.
They stayed on single islands alone for decades, thinking the war's still going on.
No, Smuddy, you're just believing in war propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
Man.
it's just because this woman wrote about it
Okay.
Never giving
like
up.
80 years ago.
All right. Whatever.
Yeah, so the TLDR, I don't see an issue with the TLDR. Maybe her details are shit, but this, I don't know.
Oh, boy.
This book
Also, I think
was thoroughly criticized.
it's a compliment in a way.
They're pretty extreme when it comes to fighting the Japanese or hardcore. So
Yeah, it's like the Roman Empire calling the old Germans barbarians that eat our legions in the swamps and forests. Okay, that means they speak highly of them in a ferocious way, thinking they're insurmountable monsters.
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I think most.
I mean, if Roman legions are scared of your tree hugging, swamp herb drinking, blood ritual ancestors, like, okay,
yeah, I think
that's I take that as a compliment.
every existing country has some story of some war that their soldiers won valiantly or amazingly. Even Canada has a few of those. We have a lot of ridiculously horrible losses, but even we have the stories like that where we can go, oh yeah, Vimy Ridge, this or that. This guy did all these things. We defended this for whomever. There's always some legend, some story of some heroes doing something amazing. So, or else those countries would be wiped out. The tribes would have been killed. So.
Oh, great. Siege in the chat. Thank you for the reminder, because I haven't watched the movie in over a decade. For a guilty pleasure. In The Last Samurai, Katsumoto led a rebellion against the emperor. Yeah, that means he's not just blindly following his leader. Haha, but he's doing it for honorable reasons. But that already goes beyond what this guy is trying to tell us.
Well,
because he's trying to tell us that these movies are just dumb and distort everything when they don't.
If the nature of the story is about trying to usurp the emperor because he's not honorable, you might want to use the word honorable in your story.
Well, it's about preserving the traditional culture of Japan, because the samurai feel Japan is losing its soul due to the westernization.
Right.
Which is not wrong.
Yeah. That was a big deal. It's a backwards Japan understood. Okay,
we are still stuck like 500 years ago while the world outside moved on and developed, which was only possible due to the isolationist geography that allowed that. But they need, it's either keep up or be eaten at that point.
It's possible,
and it's difficult to find the balance.
It's possible he just downloaded the scripts and just did Control F and then just did a word count for honor. And just wrote
that would be sad.
That's probably the easiest way he made this video. He didn't watch all those movies. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and Loki, Wolf Whisperer, also said, if your enemy fears you so much they propagandize your very existence, you're doing something right.
Yeah, that was the great speech from what's his face talking about America before the bombing of Pearl Harbor. It says, if we attack them, we will face a gun under every blade of grass or something like that. And he referenced the Second Amendment of the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, yeah, this guy knew what he was talking about. You don't mess around with America.
And it's and it's how America should be in reality.
Well, yeah.
And it wouldn't. Well, because then its government wouldn't do as much shit as it's doing.
Well, there'd be a lot more uprisings and militiamen running around.
Which was the intent of the founding fathers.
Yeah, which is amazing because we still have U.S. Marshals running around who are defending the Constitution in its own right outside of any other jurisdiction, which is awesome.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is the positive variant of the eternal revolution that communists want, because their idea was as well that you need the constant revolution, the eternal revolution, to constantly improve society and weed out its corrupt leadership elements.
Yeah, the same way.
So technically, it's the same idea.
Yeah, the same way.
It's
I was going to say that the marshals, the same way they are the boots on the ground sort of people who enact the Constitution, and there's like hardcore, blah blah blah, whatever. So too did the Constitution needed a constitutional expert in the legislative branch, in the lower house, in the upper house, to say, no, you can't do that. Constitution says so. We don't need a Supreme, for technicality, Supreme Court, great, no problem, makes sense. But have a U.S. Marshal on the floor, just attending every vote, going, wait, this bill wants to do what? Yeah, that's against Amendment 4 or whatever. You can't do that. Like, that would be the easiest solution to a lot of these.
Yeah, do that.
Weird
This Canadian gives you tips on how to run your country the way it's supposed to. Do it.
Yeah, right. Don't listen to me. My God, our parliament is messed right now. Forget about it. Oh hell.
And that's a whole another issue. That is rather proof that Canada needs a Second Amendment.
That would be fantastic if we all had guns. That'd be great. Imagine the crime rate would just plummet. All these people you want to attack my store? Oh, guess what just happened last week? We have a Second Amendment. You're not going to want to do that.
Yeah, because I have grown to from being very, very doubtful of it to after seeing a lot of reports and statistics that an armed society is, after all, a more polite society.
It's a respectful society, that's for sure. Especially where freedom to carry in the American states is allowed. The crime rate's tiny. There's very few.
We live in a society.
And that's also why I am for having proper and consistent martial arts throughout PE in schools. That you get out there with a profound understanding of basic martial arts, so that gets out the aggression. That is actually fun. You get the rough and tumble play for the boys. The girls also learn that inflicting pain and getting pain, what that actually means. It helps them grow up and mature as well. And knowing how to punch, knowing how to defend is the first form of armament, and therefore being respectful to each other. That I think that martial arts should be taught in school in PE, and not just all these stupid ball games.
I agree.
And banking.
In what? In PE?
No, just banking. It's like how to run finances And how to cook would be good too. I think those are pretty important.
Yeah, but if we taught anything about the monetary system, then the kids would think, wait, we are all scammed on a massive scale.
Well, yeah, that's true. That there would be
We
a revolt.
wouldn't need to have constant inflation. Wait.
Booms and bust cycles. What are those? Oh my God, it's been happening ever since 1910. What? Yeah, well, America's got some growing pains still, but
It's an understatement.
yeah, I know. Anyway, we have 2 minutes left. Let's keep going.
In post-war Japan by various Japanese sociologists, but against all odds, it actually became tremendously popular in Japan because it was pushed by the more nationalistic elements of the country. Because despite some of the unflattering assertions, they loved the depiction of the Japanese's unquestioning loyalty to the emperor. Oh, are you even Japanese if you are not blindly loyal to the emperor? And even until today, this flawed guilt and shame culture is still very influential in the United States, if not throughout the West.
Wait, now it's guilt and
In the
shame at the same
80s,
time?
this Second World War propaganda was boosted again during the US-Japan trade.
Isn't that the Trabant?
No.
What is this?
No. You
This
haven't
looks
seen a
way too
Trabant.
fancy for a Trabant.
Yeah, if you had ever seen a Trabant, you wouldn't mistake this fancy car for that.
This is a fancy car. Okay.
This is a very fancy car
The
compared to a Trabant.
Trabant is like something that doesn't even have those mirrors on it. Come on, it's shining as well. It's real metal.
Yeah,
Come
it doesn't
on.
look like cardboard.
It's not made of bulwark or some sort of weave of
Bloody hell.
wood.
You don't know what a Trabant looks like.
I don't want to.
No, like Smud is in a better place for that.
Yeah, I'm like, it looks like a Trabant. No, don't say the word.
So when
Why
I
you
was,
say
when I-
that?
when I was young, when I was a tadpole, and the wall fell. When the wall fell, yes, when the wall fell, we were allowed to have a I think 2-week vacation in the mountain house, not just cabin, of our rich West German uncle. And we drove all the way from East Germany, behind Berlin, all the way to southern Tyrol in northern Italy with a Trabant. A yellow Trabant.
Wow.
That's an achievement. And all the way back. And bloody hell, the serpentine roads. I was barfing a lot. Because in a Trabant, you really notice that.
Yeah,
you
there's
really
no
notice it's
suspension,
constant. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Oh, God, these 180 turns, and it's like 9 in a row.
All right. Well, good for Japan for getting modern.
Tension when the Japanese automotive industry outperformed the United States. PBS even released a documentary with the same title as the book.
They're often stylishly drawn and dramatically framed. And the violence? Perhaps because this is a disciplined society where the ideas of right and wrong come from the group, not from within the individual.
So this depiction of the Japanese is locked into the mind of a lot of people, and I don't doubt that some of those impressionable minds ended up writing screenplays with twisted conception of Asian culture.
All right. You know what? There's so many ways to interpret a story and to say this is the sum. This is what everyone's like. Every time you read a story from, like, I say I read a book from the UK that's modern. I'm like, oh, this is a modern story of what people are like. No, it's one person's interpretation of a fictional world. I'm not going to start painting everyone with the same ideas. So, and there's so much media from Japan. There's so much content that's fictional and fun and goofy and fantastical. No one's going, oh, this is what Japan must be like. It's like, not really. Every town of Japan is unique. My brother goes there at least once a year, or he used to rather. And he would go to new villages and new towns. Some of them are tourist towns, some of them are business towns, some of them are just towns. And everything's unique. There's so much culture and diversity in Japan nowadays. You can't really say the people from Kyoto are the same as the people from Tokyo. It's like any other country. It's like any other place. Every place is unique. I really don't think we do that anymore. We have our stereotypes, we make fun of that, but that's, we don't assume, oh yeah, everyone from the East Coast or the West Coast is like that. Like, not really.
As for the Chinese, this very same concept was just transplanted over to them. I don't think big studio execs cared enough to differentiate between the two. All they did was change the set and costume and call it a day. So the point I'm trying to get across here is simple. You can't create great stories by relying on stereotypes born out of wartime propaganda.
Yes, you can.
Not only that,
Yeah, but everyone liked the Ghost of Tsushima game, even the Japanese. Even despite...
you can write amazing stories from stereotypes wherever they're born from.
Yeah, look at Goodfellas and the Godfather movies. They're some of the best movies ever made. Ridiculous stereotypes of Italians.
Like, what I wonder is these people are always complaining about stereotypes here, stereotypes there. They never give us an example of what would be the alternative, what that would actually look like. While at the same time, they stereotype other people all the time in really horrible ways. Like when people like him complain about stereotypes and show us what sources they take from, and we then actually we know the media, we know the movie, we know the video game, then we're usually aware, wait, no, that's actually a pretty nuanced story, and that's a nuanced character with different facets, and so on and so on. But to these people, it's just a stereotype because they only see the one aspect that they think is stereotypical, and everything else is ignored. But then when they talk about, so they only see that one aspect, and the same way their minds function when they criticize their personal favorite target, which in the current setting of how racism works right now is white people. So they always criticize white people for the exact same reasons and say, that's so white, and refuse to see anything else but the very stereotypical things that they think are dominant in the pattern.
Well, I do like the representation of the mafia in The Godfather, because apparently, and this is just from listening to those actual mafia people who are still alive, they were saying that the depiction of the mafia in the first Godfather film, at least, was believable to them. It's like, yeah, that feels like this could have happened. This is a style of behavior that these gangsters would be like. So the concepts of honor and respect and being friends with a family and loving the community, those would be present. Like, they're not all just crazy people trying to hurt individual landowners or restaurant owners or store owners. That was the opposite of the mafia. The mafia was to protect those people. They were doing things that were either against real estate tycoons or sometimes the government in small ways. And that's when they got into trouble. So, yeah, I don't know how relevant those are, because we're talking about guys who end up becoming FBI snitches or got out of prison for shorter sentences. So, I don't know. I'm not an expert at these things. But from whatever I was told, the elements and the themes of the Godfather movie was accurate. So whatever you think of honor and respect and all those Italian things in mafia movies was at least somewhat accurate. So it's not just a Japanese thing or an ancient Japanese thing.
it creates trashy films, it is bloody dehumanizing. So if you are like me, and you are sick of seeing this twisted representations of...
I don't know how it's bloody dehumanizing when they use the word samurai as opposed to mononofu. I really, really don't. If you're insulting the samurai code or the samurai name, okay. But I don't know any samurai these days. Like, you could say something relevant to, like I said, Navy SEAL. He's a Navy SEAL. He's not the Air Force. He's not military. He's a specific area. So that would be insulting if you called them something else. But ancient medieval warriors, sure, call them samurai. Doesn't hurt me. Doesn't bother me.
Asians and sick of being treated like obtuse imbeciles who can't understand other cultures, then share these videos to your friends.
Okay, no one's saying this. We don't. Who's saying the Asians do not understand other cultures? That's the same thing of saying any culture doesn't understand another one. That's fair.
He's basically complaining that the Japanese don't understand their own culture because they shouldn't like Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, but I could say that of my own culture. I don't know all of Canadian culture. It's crazy. It's a gigantic landmass. I don't know what the East Coast is doing and what the West Coast is doing. I have no clue. I don't get local news from there. I don't know what they eat down there most of the days. What music they listen to, I have no clue.
Orcas.
Orcas and moose, yeah. That's all we got.
Yes.
Beavers and moose and orcas.
It's a well-established lore, yeah.
Holy hell.
Like, why is an Asian man who lives in Australia complains about Asian representation? Western media.
It's not done perfectly the way I want it, so it must be banned.
But like, yeah, if he is giving credit to the Japanese translation of Ghost of Tsushima, that's why it got successful in Japan, and he's like really not appreciating at all like what the Western developers were doing.
Yeah, but look at stories in anime that the Japanese do of Western ideas or themes, like Bakano. Bakano is a story about a bunch of immortal gangsters, right? And
is that the one where they are boarding a train and there's like an episode for each character?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a fun mobster film. Like that's a crazy fun story, and I don't think anyone from the West could ever have come up with it. And it took.
I remember like talking to like a socialist guy. Like he was complaining that like he is not gonna watch it with the Japanese dub because like Japanese people have no idea how the mafia works, so
what?
They have no right to like dub it.
What?
I was
They have
like,
their own
okay,
mafias.
like probably like it's gonna be more authentic to hear it with English dub, but at the same time, it's like really telling people that like you don't have the right to like dub this thing. Like what the fuck? Like you have an animation director, and he has the exact idea like what he wants the actors to do. And then you say like, oh nah, like someone else is gonna figure this out. No.
That's the same with Monster, which takes place in Europe, I think.
Yeah, it's Europe. It's both. I think it's Western Germany.
Yeah, but it's specifically Germany.
Yeah, it is Germany. It's just.
It is the most accurate anime placed in Germany that I've ever seen, and whether you like horror or not. German anime fans, whether they like horror or not, have high regards for it because for once something depicts Germany the way it looks.
Yeah, and the people in it, like they felt like real Germans
transports and
too.
All. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
it was amazing to like have like whoever made that show did his homework.
Yeah, so
because like the people look like they were actually from that area.
Yeah,
like the kind of communities that are there.
All it takes is a good visionary or a producer or a writer to have the vision, write it down, express it the right way, get all the workers involved to make the thing, to tell a good story, regardless of where they're from, regardless of how this works. And the same thing of adapting a book from the UK, Howl's Moving Castle, into an anime, and to add stuff like war elements, which aren't really there, to have amazing visuals and amazing designs of flying machines and stuff. That's cool. Can you imagine Howl's Moving Castle with war in it? Now you can. What a great idea. It's not the best interpretation of the book, but it fits somewhat. I remember we did a video on that before. That's why I remember it. So I don't see a problem.
Yeah, and in regards to what he's going on about more directly with the European variant, Legend of Zelda series. Very inspired by European medieval culture, and most obvious in Ocarina of Time, where the Japanese delegation of the developers went to Europe and looked at all the old architecture they could find to get the Hyrule Castle town right, because with all these still images that you were walking through, to make it look like a big town, and to have it look as much European, original, medieval as they could. It looked authentic. So German kid plays that, and it looks like a surviving medieval part of a German city, because we still have those. Because in the town I am in, there is still an old house that's been standing since the 14th century, and somehow survived all the wars, standing to this day. But the whole castle, princess, king, knighthood stuff, all the knights that stand around, that looks more like a fairy tale. And that's fine too, because that's a romanticized version of medieval times. I don't complain about that. Nobody sane would.
Yeah, I don't think it takes a person specifically to come from the culture they're in to write about the culture they're within. That helps. You have a lot more information and a lot more experience, but all it takes is a good researcher if they're doing something authentic. It doesn't have to be authentic, depending on what they're doing, of course.
Oh, that is authentic enough. Ocarina of Time is authentic enough in depicting medieval Europe.
Yeah, so I'm not too concerned with this guy's issues about representing fictional characters in period pieces properly when there's like magic and steampunk and all kinds of other fantasy elements that like Mulan was. I mean, forget about it. Chi and power and flying through the air and wizards and witches, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, you know what I would find really interesting at this point in time, and minus all the SJW problems we have in the media, is because what we've never done is the myths and sagas of the Germanic tribes as in video game format, because there is stuff we can do. There's lots of really interesting stuff. And adding that with the magic is real, the gods are real, and all of that. There are similarities to the Norse versions of it, because it's basically the same gods. But the saga of you can add the Lorelei into that. You can add the saga of Sigurd into that. All of this fun stuff.
All right.
You can go all the way with the Roman legions. Fun, great fun. We have sites. We have found archaeological sites that they're not very old. They were just it's not very long ago that they were found, but they were never found because they're in such unbelievable places that you wouldn't believe it. Like in the Middle German, Center German. In the forests, there are giant outcroppings of mountains, like where the mountain ranges start coming out of the ground. And there have been settlements on these giant, like imagine giant stone slabs in some overblown fantasy medieval thing, giant squares. And on that giant stone square, above the tree line, they built a village onto that thing, which is great because it's easy to defend. You just need to not fall off off the side. But that's been in the center of Germany, and we didn't find this stuff for centuries because, well, once you abandon that, and they're deliberately these places were deliberately chosen to build your village on, so that it would be safe from being found by outsiders. Yeah, it's great. It's great that you can. This is an amazing setting, and we've even there are also secret little Christian cathedrals and shrines built into those stones is the wrong word, but just these pseudo mountain ranges, these beginning mountain ranges that you can only access through hanging bridges, of which of course many have disappeared, and then you're just in this one little room. It's like it's like a fantasy world, and it's just around the corner, and we just never saw it because it's so well hidden. It's great.
All right. Well, we're almost done our memes. I don't know who this is. Hate Selassie? Maybe I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Democracy, republic. What do these words signify? What have they changed in the world? Have men become better, more loyal, kinder? Are the people happier? All goes on as before, as always. Illusions, illusions. Well, okay then. Here is Leela Lonabar? Oh, okay. Read the Leela Lonabar to learn great wisdom. Oh my goodness. Who is Spider Ratter? What are those words? Obviously it's not English, so I'm assuming it's German, but okay. Here we go. Good kings are slaves and their
Oh, this is the
subjects
Lila
are free.
Launebeer. That was one of these shows that we had. We have this model. So you have cartoons in between, and then you have these skits with a moderator and the Jim Henson puppet as the co-moderator.
Oh boy,
That's what that was.
if they have no bread, let them eat cake. What the hell am I reading? If they have no bread, let them eat cake? What the fuck? Literal translation, I guess. Shut up, my dad works for the CIA and can get your entire neighborhood addicted to crack. Okay.
Oh, did we skip some stuff in the beginning?
Oh, no, you were talking. I just kept going through them. Shut up, my dad works for the British Empire and can get your entire neighborhood addicted to opium. What? What the hell? There we go. Western Howler, thank you. Reminding us that panda bears are useless. Take their black patches away and no one would care about them. Oh no. With glasses, without glasses. Oh, poor bears. Yeah, this is thanks, Mark. That's great. Not
Wow.
Sure. Yeah. I'm not sure why he fantastic. Another one from Western Howler. All the Lantern Corps have a monster that embodies what their emotion put to the extreme is. For the pink, it is called the Predator, the ultimate embodiment of love with nothing to temper it. Looks like a xenomorph.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that is the ultimate mania.
Nice.
It just consumes.
Honor meme, because why not? Oh, the Smud Boys Citadel, we honor the Snowforge. What?
Froge. It's Froge. This is cute.
Okay. I don't know what
Looks
Hawk is
cute.
doing. Is Hawk drunk?
Meanwhile, here's the Predator again.
I'm love incarnate? Really?
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Well, looks like your average feminist.
Okay. Where men are forbidden to honor a king, they honor millionaires, athletes, or film stars instead, even famous prostitutes or gangsters. For spiritual nature, like bodily nature, will be served, denied food, and it will gobble poison. C.S. Lewis.
Yes, Lewis.
Yeah. What do I think of when I hear this guy talk? Oh, really? Jerry Lewis? Okay.
Oof.
There's the Trabant.
That is a real Trabant. It's
Ah.
a bit smaller than you thought.
Wow, that's scary.
It fits, yeah, and it fits. It has 5 seats.
5.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Well, the middle one in the back is a bit uncomfortable, but yeah, it fits the full family.
Oh, Mark, you beat me to it. I was going to say something about Darmok and Jalad.
Oh,
Mark does it with
that
Adobe
guy.
Photoshop. Yeah.
Yes, when the wall fell.
Every time someone brings up the wall, I can't stop thinking about Darmok. There
The
it is.
rampart.
Holy hell, it's a tiny car.
Yeah, and it fits luggage too. And it's then you drive with that thing like what is it? 800 kilometers?
What?
Thousands? I don't know.
800
And back. And up and up and down these steep mountains, the Alps, over the Alps with that thing.
All right, so here we have the Draconis Combine is Japan on steroids with the quite disturbing view of honor. The top image is a lance, a military formation of mechs, and the bottom one is a Draconis Combine trebuchet mech. All right, very tiny images, but okay. And that is a trebuchet mech for Mech Warrior. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm not too fluent on my Mech Warrior. I don't know what all that means. And last one, meme skipped. Yeah.
I don't get that.
Nope, there's one more.
There's one more. That was fast. The Habsburg monarchy. I'm the last monarch of the old school. It's my job to protect my peoples from their politicians. Hey. Franz Joseph I.
I can't argue with that line.
What a great guy.
Yeah. Before you scrolled over a thing of Pokelevi posted a YouTube video called D&D is less popular than this tabletop RPG in Germany. Is that talking about the Dark Eye, perhaps? The thumbnail doesn't really imply it, but that would be the one I would guess. Because the Dark Eye is a German one that is similarly big world, and its own magic system, much less magic in it, and much more grounded in that respect. Much more interesting character creation system with positive and negative character traits that help you more define who the character really is as a person, as a character, because the old school German role players are much more interested in actual character play, character interaction, role play, you could say, and the storytelling than the dungeon crawling that Dungeons and Dragons is much more focused on and built around. Yeah. If you especially the older versions of the Dark Eye, the newer ones, I think have the same simplification problem right now, because the wider market, blah. But I think it's DSA 3 that was still pretty okay. I have a magic book still here that I owe someone, but yeah, it has tons of lore. Very fun stuff.
Okay, well, I think we're done for the day. That was a strange video. I didn't think much of it while I watched it. I thought, all right, not a big deal. Obviously, you guys had a lot more to say, which I appreciate, because I was like, uh-oh, this is not going to fly too well. So I'm glad it did. Yeah, these are random gems that I was not even aware of, that these channels exist. So glad to find them. And keep the suggestions coming as always. We had a few other runners up that we'll just put back into the voting cycle. See if we can pick them up. And if you guys have any other recommendations outside of the voting, tell Mateus we're making a new list of things you want to actively talk about, so that would imply you want to come on and share your story or your argument. One of them could be even a debate, if you want to debate someone. I know a lot of people have a lot of differing opinions, and we don't get to cover them all on the Smudcast, so I thought we could have a debate, perhaps, on either a fandom, a topic, a franchise, really Batman. Take your pick, whatever you think is best, like the best depiction of Batman over the years, and why. And that
why it's DCAU.
Well, someone wanted to debate me on how Breath of the Wild is really bad, because apparently I'm just simping for it, but that is not the case. I have lots of issues with the game, but I'd still like the discussion.
I would love to hear a debate on that. I'd love to hear a debate on all kinds of topics, but we never get to do it because we're all just sort of laughing at a video or critiquing a video. So I would like to do something different on the weekend, per se. And you guys can tell us what topics you like. I don't know if we have to make a new channel for that or add it to the recommendations channel. That might be effective too. I don't know. To say, what would you like to see a debate on? What would you like to see specific topics on? Because a lot of people recommend videos. They don't get picked. Maybe they really want to see a topic on it. There's other ways to talk about these videos, not directly though. So let's try that. Let's try for that. If you guys have the recommendations, put them in the recommendations channel. Mateus will figure it out, or the other mods will sort them through. Or message me directly. That works too. I don't mind. Go for that. Anyway, thanks guys. That was 2 hours and a half. Even. Good job. I don't know if we're taking a break tomorrow or whatever the schedule is. But keep them coming. Keep on voting. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye.